Deadly snake biters. This is Helicopter Bill coming at you again. We're going to talk about something that has haunted me and that haunts millions here in the United States and in Vietnam. I've got about 18 slides that we're going to talk about. But this is actually a real look at Agent Orange. Now, I looked at a map near the DMZ and further south and along the Ho Chi Minh Trail and Quai Son and all those areas. A map of where they had done a lot of the spraying and stuff. Now, I was up front and personal with a Huey with spray bars on it, sitting along the river there at the Quang Tri Air Base, leaning up against the bunker, rifle on my lap with another dude, and we were doing something really bad for our health. We were smoking. Well, here comes the Huey with the spray bars out. And he's spraying away, and I say to the dude beside me, I said, "Hey man, look, they're spraying for mosquitoes." He goes, Nah, they're killing plants along the river. So the VC, or more importantly, the NVA can't hide in there and shoot at us when we're flying out of here in the helicopters. I said, "Oh, cool." He said, "Yeah, it won't hurt you. It's just to kill plants." Well, let's talk about that. Agent Orange is a chemical herbicide and defoliant, one of the tactical use rainbow herbicides. It was used by the U.S. military as part of its herbicidal warfare program, Operation Ranch Hand. During the Vietnam War from 1961 to 1971, it's a mixture of equal parts two herbicides, and they give all the numbers for them. In addition to its damaging environmental effects, traces of dioxin, the most toxic of its type, found in the mixture have caused major health problems for many individuals who were exposed and to their offspring. Could be offspring of veterans that were over there, or people in Vietnam who have suffered greatly. You're going to see some evidence of that. The government of Vietnam says that up to 4 million people in Vietnam were exposed to this, and as many as 3 million people have suffered illness because of Agent Orange. While the Red Cross of Vietnam estimates that up to 1 million people were disabled or have health problems as a result of exposure to Agent Orange. The United States government has described these figures as unreliable. While documenting cases of leukemia, Hodgkin's lymphoma, and various kinds of cancer in exposed U.S. military veterans, an epidemiological study done by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention showed that there was an increase in the rate of birth defects of the children of military personnel as a result of Agent Orange. Thank God I had my children before I went to Vietnam. Agent Orange has also caused enormous environmental damage in Vietnam. They eroded, the defoliants eroded tree cover and seeding forest stock, making reforestation difficult in numerous areas. Animal species diversity is sharply reduced in contrast with unsprayed areas. The use of Agent Orange resulted in numerous legal actions. The United Nations ratified United Nations General Assembly Resolution 31/72, and the Environmental Modification Convention. Lawsuits filed on behalf of both U.S. and Vietnamese veterans sought compensation for damages. Now, I have probably 5 or 6 other presumptive diseases associated with Agent Orange. 25 years ago, I had a very aggressive prostate cancer. Thank the Lord that I went for exams regularly, and PSA started rising, not only rising, but accelerating. Ended up with a high Gleason score, was not encapsulated, but I had 125 radioactive seeds implanted, which right away 2 went to my lungs. I thought that was, being in the x-ray business, that was really interesting. Go look at my lungs. So, on the left here you see this Agent Orange. I was killed in Vietnam, I just haven't died yet. That's where I am. I am beginning to have a bit of dementia from Parkinson's disease. Barely walk, have a lot of pain from muscle rigidity. That's just one of the blessings from Agent Orange. Let's see, diabetes, hypothyroidism, Parkinson's disease, they're even now saying that high blood pressure. When I was a skinny guy and came back from the war, I had high blood pressure. These presumptives go way back. In my helicopter squadron, we were up 14 clicks from the DMZ, where there was plenty of it being sprayed, because the North Vietnamese regular army did not want us there. We were the guys that were resupplying 881, 861, and helping support the 26 Marines at Quezon. Now, to the right of this picture, you're going to see a Orange Heart medal. I'll be damned if they shouldn't have issued one to everybody that has come under this curse. And at times it makes me feel like I'm being punished. Oh, here we go. Vietnamese children with tons of birth defects. Take a look. Look closely. They estimate that there was somewhere near 150,000 kids right off the bat. And now it's so politicized and everything, it's hard to know what's the real story. As you can see at the bottom of all these slides, Agent Orange, a moral crime. Think about it. When we weren't supposed to be doing any chemical warfare, guess what? There's some more photos that'll really grab you. Take a look at that poor soul with the sagging face. It gets worse. On the left-hand picture, that co-joined malformed twins is enough to make you want to have nightmares every night. Thank God I didn't see any of that in person. This is our legacy. This is what we left behind. Not to mention our own children with spina bifida and all sorts of birth defects. Ask yourself, is this a moral crime? Okay, here's how I got up close and personal with Agent Orange. Except this Huey was flying down the riverbank with its spray bars out, not across a bunch of jungle. But that's exactly how I got up close and personal with this marvelous rainbow chemical, Agent Orange. Okay, there's a lot of C-123s out there spreading this stuff. They even had some C-119 flying boxcars. They were using Hueys. Special Forces guys I know were using a hatchet on a drum, dipping a spray pumper into it. No mask, no gloves, no nothing, and spraying the wire. Most of those guys are dead. I know one that's alive, and he's had every cancer known to man, and he's in rough shape. When I ask about some of our pilots at a reunion, oh, he died. He's gone. Agent Orange. Ooh, yeah. Well, let me tell you, during the Vietnam War between 1962 and 1971, the United States military sprayed nearly 20 million U.S. gallons, whoa, of the rainbow herbicides and defoliants in Vietnam, eastern Laos, and parts of Cambodia as part of Operation Ranch Hand, reaching its peak from 67 to 69. Damn. I went there in December 67, stayed all of 68, and came home in January 69, up close to the DMZ. Me and a lot of other Marines. And sadly, a lot of them aren't with us anymore. I was a service officer with the Disabled American Veterans for 5 years. And I handled quite a few of their cases, putting them to the VA, trying to get these guys some disability for presumptive diseases. A lot of us in our chapter came up with a saying for the people that did the C&P exams, compensation and pension exams. Deny, deny until you die. And there's people out there are very familiar with that. The use of these chemicals were questioned, actually, in the U.S., but they did it anyhow. Agent Orange was usually sprayed from helicopters or from low-flying C-123s, fitted with sprayers, and it was called the MC-1 hourglass pump system. They would take 1,000 gallons in chemical tanks, make the spray runs. They could make them from trucks, boats, backpack sprayers. A lot of ways to deliver it. The campaign destroyed 20,000 square kilometers of upland and mangrove forest and thousands of square kilometers of crops. Overall, more than 20% of South Vietnam's forests were sprayed and destroyed. Here's another photo of a couple of 123s spraying. In 1965, 42% of herbicide spraying was dedicated to food crops. In 65, members of Congress were told crop destruction is understood to be the more important purpose, but the emphasis is usually given to the jungle defoliation. In public mention of the program, the first official acknowledgement of the programs came from the State Department in March of '66. So, when the crops were destroyed, the Viet Cong would compensate for the loss of food by confiscating more food from local villages, which made us less welcome than before. Many experts at the time, including Arthur Galston, opposed herbicidal warfare because of concerns about the side effects to humans and the environment by indiscriminately spraying the chemical over a wide area. As early as 1966, resolutions were introduced to the United Nations charging that the U.S. was violating the 1925 Geneva Protocol, which regulated the use of chemical and biological weapons. The U.S. defeated most of the resolutions, arguing that Agent Orange was not a chemical or biological weapon, as it was considered an herbicide and a defoliant, and it was used in an effort to destroy plant crops and deprive the enemy of concealment, and was not meant to target human beings. The U.S. delegation argued that a weapon by definition is any device used to injure, defeat, or destroy living beings, structures, or systems, and Agent Orange did not qualify under that definition. It also argued that if the U.S. were to be charged for using Agent Orange, then the United Kingdom and its Commonwealth nations should be charged, since they also used it widely during the Malayan emergency in the 50s. Well, I think we're all getting here to see the big picture. You can see in here where Agent Orange, we got some body bags and stuff laying around. Saw too many body bags. Okay, the human impact. The use of herbicides as a defoliant had long-term destructive effects on the people of Vietnam, their land, and their ecology, as well as on those who fled in the mass exodus from 1978 to the early 1990s. According to the Vietnamese government, the U.S. program exposed approximately 4.8 million Vietnamese people to Agent Orange, resulted in 400,000 deaths due to a range of cancers and other ailments. Hindsight corrective studies indicate that previous estimates of Agent Orange exposure were biased by government intervention and underguessing, such that current estimates for dioxin release are almost double those previously predicted. According to the Vietnamese government, census data indicates that the United States military directly sprayed upon millions of Vietnamese during strategic Agent Orange use. Guess who was out there in the bush along with them? And it took forever for the U.S. government, Department of Defense, and the VA to get their act together. Now that we're almost all dead, Vietnam veterans are dying at a higher rate than any of the other war veterans. Just look it up. But they are still finding presumptive diseases. That's the hypothyroidism, just got approved. Like 50 years later? All right. Somehow I came across this photo of an HMM 163 helicopter. It was right in there with the Agent Orange stuff. We didn't spray any Agent Orange, but we sure took those helicopters everywhere we could and flew a lot of missions. It was a sad day when they gave them away to the Vietnamese, and we no longer had our good old Sikorskys. You know, according to the Vietnamese government, the program caused 3 million Vietnamese health problems, with 150,000 children born with severe birth defects, and 24% of the area of Vietnam being defoliated. The Red Cross of Vietnam estimates that up to 1 million people were disabled or have health problems as a result of the exposure to Agent Orange. United States government has described these figures as unreliable. According to the Department of Veteran Affairs, 2.6 million U.S. military personnel were exposed, and hundreds of thousands of veterans are eligible for treatment for Agent Orange related illnesses. Well, how many of those hundreds of thousands are already dead is my question. Before they were able to recognize and make public the problem. Here's a list. Oh my gosh. This is a 15-item list, which is old. They've added to it. You know, amyloidosis, chronic B-cell leukemia, chloracne, diabetes type 2, Hodgkin's disease, hormone disruption, ischemic heart disease, multiple myeloma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, Parkinson's disease, peripheral neuropathy, porphyria cutanea tarda, prostate cancer, respiratory cancer. I could run through and put quite a few check marks in here. And very truthfully, I used to have anger. Here's a slide of some prostate cancer. Was linked with a 52% increase in overall prostate cancer risk, a 75% increased risk of high-grade prostate cancer, and a more than doubled risk of the deadliest forms of the disease. Thank you all for the moral crime you've committed on the United States servicemen. And I can assure you, I had that prostate cancer of the high grade, and I thank God I'm still alive. Now, I was about to say, I used to be angry about this. I've ceased my anger. It's now turned into rage, absolute rage. Oh, here's another one of the gifts. Personal thing here too. Parkinson's disease. That's a curse nobody wants. Ischemic heart disease. Well, thank God my pipes are clean. At least I was told on my last visit to the cardiologist. But there is plenty of that went around and was never connected to Agent Orange poisoning. Now, normally, I will end a presentation with a snake bite Bill says semper fi. But tonight's presentation, and as you all know me by now, I don't like to get on a rant. But tonight, I want to give a special rot in hell to Lyndon Baines Johnson and the whiz kid Robert McNamara, along with the Monsanto and all the other chemical company executives. You have brought a curse upon this planet and upon the people of Vietnam and the brave soldiers who followed the oath, and the Marines and sailors to fight that rotten war.